Welcome to I'm a Perfectionist, Get Me Out of Here, where we are all allowed to be perfectly imperfect. I'm Eileen Webb. I'm a psychologist, CBT and EMDR therapist, anxiety mastery coach, author of 4 books, and podcaster as well. Hello, Ifunanya, and welcome to I'm a Perfectionist, Get Me Out of Here. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Eileen. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here today. Thank you.
And can you just let us know where you are joining us from today?
Okay, I am joining you and joining all of us from Enugu, Nigeria. So, yeah.
Amazing. I love technology. Just imagine you're sitting here and having a conversation about your life and my life and sharing this with all the others from all over the world. And we are all in different parts of our little earth. Fantastic. So, Ifunanya, what brought you to where you are today? What's your story and what brought you to where you are now? I know it's a big one, but what you think is important for us to know.
I'm the first child in a family of six. So, I have three brothers and two sisters. So, um, I have a degree in history and international studies. So, I taught history to high school students for a while. So, but then I wanted something different for my career. Not that I don't enjoy teaching, I do enjoy teaching, but I've taught for a long time and I was just curious, like, who knows, are there other potentials in me? Like, why don't I just try something else? So, and then I dabbled into digital marketing, discovered that I actually love social media marketing, and that's where my focus is right now. Social
So you're
media.
enjoying what you're doing now.
Absolutely.
Great. So we talked about perfectionism before, and of course, striving for success is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Healthy striving and wanting to do your best. And you mentioned that there were some points where you found it was no longer helpful and uh, causing anxiety. Do you want to tell us a bit more about how you noticed that when you think this has started and how it has been affecting your well-being?
Okay. Well, being the first child out of six siblings, I always felt like, well, I'm the big sis, so I have to plan for everyone. I have to think for everyone. And then when I found out that it was actually becoming a problem and not just something that just has to do with being the big sis, was around 2021. So um I could remember my siblings were like, okay, I wanted to study this in school. And I was like, no, this is what you're supposed to do because statistics said that this is the best career, this is this. So I was always like wanting to plan everybody's life, give the whole advice, like do everything. And when they don't agree with me, when they
Mm.
refuse to agree, or maybe they air their different opinion, I just get frustrated. I feel like you are not just listening, you are not just appreciating my efforts, something like that. So until later on, I think that was in 2023, that was when I had to read up something and I found out that striving for that perfectionism, always wanting everything to look perfect, you want everything to turn out fine, well, is not healthy. Like you have to allow some things to just play out in their own. You can give your own advice, but forcing people to follow what you want them to do is not the right thing to do. So yeah.
So this was quite a lot about taking control of what your siblings are doing because you want the best for them. Why aren't they doing what you tell them? Because that would be the perfect solution for their lives. And I'm just wondering how it sounds like there was that assumed parenthood there as well, isn't there? Because you're the oldest, that you're kind of taking the responsibility of what they should be doing with their lives? Or
Yeah,
is that how, is that how it works in your culture, perhaps?
it's not supposed to be that way. I mean,
Okay.
my mom is still there. My mom is there, although my dad is kind of late. He's late now and he died like a few years back. But it wasn't my responsibility. It wasn't written in stone that I must do this. And also because of that perfectionism, I also have high standards for myself too. Like I always want everything to look nice, to look perfect, to get this thing done. And sometimes even when I create content for social media, I'm always changing everything. Like I want to look at it very well. I want it to look perfect and stuff like that. So, and sometimes I spend lots of time on one particular design or reel or anything. And at the end of the day, I found out that this thing I was really wasting my time on, should I have wasted time on this like this? So that's it.
Yeah, so you started noticing that. When do you think, when do you think it started? Where do you think it came from? When,
Well,
when you were in your childhood, when you look back now, was it there? Where might it have come from?
mm, looking back now, I think it's actually from my childhood because from my early years in school, I remember now that my teachers would just put me in position in maybe class quizzes and debate competitions and speaking whatever, not asking whether I wanted to do that, but they feel like, oh, you are the smart one, or yeah, do something like this, or just do this, or just do that. And then there was always that impression in me that since you are in this position, since we have chosen you to do this, you have to deliver, you have to memorize this, you have to do the best you can do. And I remember now that maybe that was when the perfectionism, like it just started in me, and I always feel that pressure in me to always be the best. And whenever I make any mistake, like I keep thinking about it, I keep feeling so bad about it. So
Hmm. Yeah, that actually, that is what the problem, one of the problems is about perfectionism, isn't it? That there's no place for making mistake. And if you do, you go into overthinking, you keep worrying, you keep playing the scenario over and over again. And what will people be thinking now? Um, and constantly judging yourself, and then feeling worse and worse about yourself. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
and
because because striving for success, there's nothing wrong with when once you're in peace with the mistakes you make, you're like, okay, I'm going to learn from this and then I'll do it better next time. But once you start kind of dwelling
on that.
yeah, then it starts becoming unhelpful, doesn't it? Or
Yes.
if you get anxious that you're not going to do it, the perfect performance.
Yes, if I get anxious, the possibility of me not delivering my best is always there. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you find, what about the part about what you think that others might be expecting of you? Because from what you have said, for example, with your teachers, oh, the teachers have chosen me, so they would expect the best from me. So there is also something about what you think others are expecting of you as well. Does that kind of manifest also in your work life?
Because I've found a way to deal with the perfectionism. So I don't really think people still expect that from me now. So,
Yeah.
but from what I could remember, I remember people around me expecting me to be the planner, to know everything. And then when they asked me some certain questions and I told them that maybe I don't really know this or maybe I would need to do a research, they're like, wow. So finally, there is something you don't really know. You're supposed to be the Miss Know It All, have everything in place and stuff like that. So how come you don't know this one? How come you don't have a plan for this? So, and I think sometimes my siblings still joke with me because they'll tell me, oh, Miss Plan A to Z. If plan A fails, you must have a plan B, you must have a plan C, you must have a plan D and to Z. So there is no way you don't have any plan. So, and I tell them that that was before, not now. So I've grown to just go with what I can control and just move on.
How did that happen? How did that transformation happen for you? You know, before there was this desire to know everything and the certainty and the intolerance of uncertainty by the sounds of it. So plan A, if that doesn't work, then I have a plan B, C, D, E. Have to know everything and every scenario has to be planned, which I can only assume that would take a lot of energy of your mind to plan for all sorts of scenarios and time. So how did you shift this and
Um,
became okay with not knowing? How did you do? I'm sure people listening would love to know. How do you make that shift? If perfectionism is getting in the way of you living your life to the full, then check out my new book, Perfectly Imperfect: Cultivating Your Self-Worth in a Demanding World. It's based on cognitive behavioral principles.
early 2022 or so. So my plan was I wanted to travel to a different state. I was planning because in my country we have this compulsory service, 1 year service after your university. So every graduate is supposed to have that. So I was always planning in my mind that I would go to maybe a city, and after the NYSC, I was going to get a job. And when I get a job, I will start planning for my master's degree, then get married and stuff. I was just planning that way. But then, as everything worked out, I was actually sent to a very remote area. Like the place was just so different. Like it was the exact opposite of what I wanted. So it was at that moment that I just started having a rethink, and I felt like all these years of always having plans, all these years of always trying to be the best, knowing everything, having a plan A or plan B, what has it gotten me? Nothing. It always brings me worry and stress and stuff. So then I also started reading up on this because I didn't think it was a problem. I didn't think it was bad. So until I just stumbled upon, I think one article like that. So I read that and I found out that wow, this is actually a problem and I needed to deal with that. So from that 2022 to 2023, I started dealing with that gradually. It's not just like a one-off thing, like I just made that decision and everything just went up. It was just gradually. I have to always remind myself that you are doing your best. Like I'm doing my best. If this doesn't work out, fine. At least I did my best and I put in my effort. So yeah.
Wow, Ifunanya, so you became your own therapist. Is that
Yes,
right? So
I
you
became
started, yeah, I'm really amazed. So you started challenging your previous beliefs and said, look, you know, I know that you keep bullying me. Oh, is this not good enough? This not good enough? But actually, I do my best, and that's good enough for me. So you were
yes,
having that conversation with yourself.
I
Oh,
was.
those are not amazing. Yeah, that's really good. So, so that again shows, I think, that you know the brain plasticity is amazing. That we can shift what is not serving us anymore once we become aware of it, right?
Yes.
You're a walking, living example of that. And I have I know many people who have done that, but often with the help of a coach or a therapist. So so by reading that article, you have become aware that you can challenge these.
Yes, because I used to hear people say that everything starts with your mind, but it was not until I started like thinking towards that, and I noticed that everything has to do with mindset. So it has to do with you knowing that this is a problem, and then you start working towards it, and you tell yourself the truth, and you start working towards it.
And how do you feel the difference?
Well,
What has that how has that change affected you, your life, and people around you?
Well, when I started like having the mindset shift. It really wasn't that easy because I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm leaving the reins and I don't have any control anymore. But I found out that my anxiety actually reduced, and I'm able to get things done like easier and faster these days rather than sitting and thinking and having all the plans and all the journals and everything, writing down everything. So I found out that I don't really need to spend so much time on planning. And I found out that I can always change something. When I start, there's a way I can always change or maybe bring in new strategies if something is not working. So, and it has been
Yeah.
working.
And that doesn't mean you're a failure.
Yes, it doesn't mean I'm a failure. It means I'm learning.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, um, any any advice, any wise words that you can give our listeners who might be struggling from fear of failure, not being the best, not doing the best, not doing everything perfectly, or not having the perfect plan? What would you tell them?
What I would tell anybody that's listening to me right now that's struggling with perfectionism, anxiety, having plans, and wanting everything to be perfect is that you should give yourself some grace. Yes, there is nobody in this world that started anything that didn't maybe fail at what particular time, that didn't start from somewhere. But what happens is when you fail or when you make mistakes, do you stay down? Do you just keep remaining in that position, or do you get up and become better? So there is always a way that you keep learning, because chasing perfection, there is no perfection. It might be perfect to you, but somebody else, it might not be perfect to them. So we should just maybe keep moving on. And then if there are people in your life or around you that are always filling your mind and your head with all the negative thoughts and the negative vibes, I would suggest you distance yourself a little bit from them. So, because all these things, we might talk, we might just have the podcast and listen to everything, and you feel so motivated. But then there are some people around you that you might tell some of your plans, and they'll just keep talking down to you. And then when you go back, you start thinking and say, oh, maybe what she's saying is right. Maybe I shouldn't do this. So if there are people around you that always gives you negative energy and negative vibe, distance yourself a little bit from them when you are in that moment of learning and discovering yourself. So when you've discovered yourself and you've learned what you're supposed to know, you can maybe um challenge them, or maybe you can tell them, oh, this is what is right and this is what is wrong. So that's my two.
Fantastic. So trust in yourself and your abilities and
Yes.
get out of your comfort zone, really,
Yes.
isn't it? Because your comfort zone is where you don't grow. And once you're out of that comfort zone, you can learn more about yourself as well. That's, yeah, fantastic. But I really like what you said about people also telling you not to go for what you want to go for. Um, and just trusting in yourself and your abilities, and that it's okay. That radical acceptance of, even if you don't succeed the first time, you can just keep going. And every time
Yes.
you learn something new about yourself and about what you're trying to do, I guess, as well, wiser each time. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story today, Ifunanya.
Thank you, Eileen. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to be here and sharing my story with all of you.
Thank you for joining us in I'm a Perfectionist, Get Me Out of Here podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please do leave stars and a review. Help me spread the word by sharing this with your friends and family. My practical manual, Transformation Through the Power of Quotes, will help you or someone you know get through tough times and feel happier. It is now available on Amazon paperback and Kindle. You can also check out our website, mindandmood.co.uk. Thank you again, and remember, imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. Bye for now.